I usually post videos on my fruit trees, but in this video, I'd like to concentrate on my vegetable garden. This was the first time that I've grown vegetables vertically, so I thought I would show you how they are coming along. I'd also like to mention that I'm working on a video where I'll be giving you an update on some of my fruit trees that I've been harvesting fruit off of, and some that are almost ready for harvest. I'm hoping to have that one ready within another week or so. And once winter rolls around, I also plan on doing a walk around season harvest video. My backyard orchard is still relatively young. For some fruit trees, this was the first season that they set fruit. I've been keeping fairly good records of my harvest off of the fruit trees, so I thought at the end of the season I would do a harvest recap video and show you what kind of fruit production I was able to get. I hope you'll stay tuned for that one. Okay, so now on to some of the vegetables that I've been growing vertically. I'd like to start with these two towers. There's two melon plants growing on each tower. On the left tower, there's an orange honeydew and honey rock melon. And on the right tower, there's a green honeydew melon and ambrosia cantaloupe. I've been training these plants to grow up along the cage by using some Velcro tape in order to train the vines to grow along the frame of the cage. Here's a pic of what they look like shortly after planting. As you can see from the planting pic, they put on quite a bit of growth since. Here you can see some of the melons that have already set. So far there are 8 melons that have set between both plants on this tower. I'd also like to mention that none of these plants growing on either of these towers were hand pollinated. There's been plenty of bee activity, so I went ahead and let the bees do all the work. I'm also experimenting with different types and methods of supporting the melons. Here with these I used netting fabric that I picked up at the dollar store. I stretched it across the inside of the tower and just laid the melons on top of the fabric. I secured the net by running some wire through the mesh and then attaching it to the frame of the cage. It should be sturdy enough to support the weight once the melons mature. And there's one over here in the back that I just used a net to hold the melon in place. I'm just trying different types of methods to see which one works best. And over on the other tower there are 6 melons that have set. I used nylon socks to support these. I just made a sling out of the socks, and I'm going to see how this works out. This vine seems to be doing a little better than the other one, even though it has less fruit that has set. This one's put on a bit more growth than the other vine, and it also has quite a few melons that are at the very early stages of development, so I'm not sure if they're going to set, but it does have quite a few flowers as well as early developing fruit. Here's one that's probably going to set as well as this one. And there's several more scattered throughout the vine. But it's like I said, it's still too early to tell if they're going to set. The other vine doesn't have very many flowers left on it. But this one appears that it's going to wind up with more fruit than the other vine. Okay, now on to my pea trellis where I have 6 plants growing here in this section. Over on the end, I have a summer butterstick squash, which is this plant right here. And it has a fruit that's set and is starting to develop on it. Haven't harvested that many off of it, but it's doing well. And here next to the summer squash, I have 2 butternut squash plants. I still haven't harvested any off of these plants, but it does have several that are developing are fairly good size. There's several scattered throughout the plant. And over here on this side is a national pickling cucumber. I've already harvested several off this plant. This variety is a heavy producer. I've already pickled a few jars, but still haven't sampled them. From what I've read, you're supposed to wait around 45 days or so after you've canned the pickles in order to allow the flavors to set in. I still need a couple of more weeks to go before they're ready. I'll keep you posted and let you know how they came out. And over here on this end, I have 2 winter butternut squash plants growing. No harvest off of these yet, but there are a couple on the vine that are developing nicely. Here's one off of the plant that's on the end. And here's another one on the other plant. And here in this area next to my fig trees are some pepper plants. I have several varieties growing in here. The only one in this group that I've harvested from is the bell pepper that is right over here. This plant right here. I planted this one last season and it did well, and this season I've already harvested several off of it. This other plant here has a pepper growing on. I'll put the variety on the screen for this one. And there's a few others that have some peppers that are developing that are not quite ready for harvest. This one over here is also one that I planted last season, and it gave me quite a few. This is a poblano pepper, by the way. It gave me quite a few peppers last season that are really good size, and it looks like it's going to do well this season again. And that's a Thai chili pepper. It has several peppers that are developing, and that one was also planted last season. And here are my zucchini plants. That one there, that first one is a dark green zucchini, and these other two here are green tiger zucchini plants. When these started to flower, I did hand pollinate them, and I had pretty good success. I did get plenty of zucchinis off of these two here, the green tiger plants. The other one, the dark green zucchini, didn't do quite as well, but I did manage to get a few off of it as well. And over here in this area, I have 4 melon plants growing. By the way, if you're wondering what all this dirt is doing here, I recently had a section of my yard prepped for planting, and this is the dirt that was removed from that area. The area I'm working on, it was highly compacted soil, so I had all this dirt removed so that I could amend the soil to improve the drainage. Anyway, back to the melons here. I've been training them to grow along the green cable you see that is on the fence. This plant here on the end, this is a orange flesh honeydew melon that was recently planted, and it's just starting to flower. This other one was planted in mid-May, and so far this is the only one that has set. There is another melon on this vine that is at the very early stages of development, so I'm not sure if it's going to set, but this one hasn't put out as many flowers as I had hoped, but that one that's growing there is doing well. And here's the other one. It's fairly small, so I'm not sure if that one's going to set. And as far as pollinating goes, none of these melons were hand pollinated. I went ahead and let the bees do all the work. And over here on this other section, this one here is a honey rock melon. The overall health from the plant here doesn't look too good. The leaves aren't healthy looking at all, but it does have a couple of melons developing, so hopefully it will survive long enough for these melons to fully ripen. And it does have this other small melon here that's at the very early stages of development, but not sure it's going to set. And this last plant over here is a honeydew melon. I'm not exactly sure which variety. So far it only has this one that has set. Hopefully before the season's done it'll flower some more and I'll be able to get some more fruit off of this one. And over here in this section I have another group of pepper plants. So far I've only harvested one pepper off this group, and that was off this one here, which is a sweet Slovana pepper. Some of the other plants are just starting to develop peppers, and others, like this sweet banana pepper, are just starting to develop flower buds. This other one here, this one is a California Wonder bell pepper, and it has a couple on it. And this one is a sweet Costa Rican pepper, and it also has a couple of peppers developing. And this one is a paprika pepper, and this one has a good sized pepper on it. This one here is a sweet Big Dipper pepper, and it's just starting to develop flower buds. And here's another California Wonder pepper with a good sized pepper on it. And this is a sweet nardello pepper with a few growing on it, and they're pretty close for harvesting. And here's another sweet nardello with it also has several peppers on it that are pretty close to being ready to pick. And this one here is a sweet pimento pepper, and it's doing well. It's starting to develop some flower buds. And over here is another paprika plant, and it has several peppers, and a couple of them are starting to turn color. They should be ready to pick as soon as they turn red. I also have some strawberry plants. I'll list the variety on the screen. There's 4 plants growing in each of the raised box area here where my stone fruit trees are growing. This isn't the ideal location for strawberries. They need plenty of sun, and this area is shaded out quite a bit with my fruit trees. But in spite of that, I've been able to get a decent amount of fruit. Next season I'll be planting these somewhere else. We don't get freezing temperatures in my area, so I'm hoping I'll be able to transplant these to a strawberry tower that I hope to build sometime as soon as time permits. Maybe sometime during winter when things slow down a bit, I'll be able to get to that project. And lastly are my tomatoes. These here on the left are San Marzano tomatoes. And over on the right, those are what I thought were Roma tomatoes. There's 4 plants in there. The San Marzano plants over here on this side have done really well, and I've harvested several tomatoes. Several of these here on the vine are getting fairly close to being ready for harvest, and it still has quite a few that it's pushing out. These other plants here, which I thought were Roma tomatoes, not all the plants that I put in this area turned out to be Roma. These here I believe are Roma tomatoes, and some of them, as you can see here, are really good size. And this vine did well, but this other one here I thought was a Roma tomato. This vine here, turns out the tomatoes look more like a San Marzano, so I may have accidentally mixed the labels up, because they're definitely not Roma, and they look like San Marzano. I do have a few more plants growing in different areas of my yard, but no harvest off of them yet, so I'll save those for a different video. Well, that will be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you'll follow along and keep an eye out for the video that I'm currently working on, as well as future videos that I plan on posting. I'll be posting videos on a regular basis and keep you updated on the backyard orchard's progress. So if you haven't already, please consider subscribing so you can follow along. As always, stay safe, grow your own, and thank you for watching.